Hey now, today I am embarking on an adventure here to build a curing chamber. My old curing chamber recently died on me. That one was constructed out of actually it was like an old Coors Light beverage display fridge or cooler, and I'm looking to build one out of this Danby wine fridge, obviously here. Now this one is good. One of the things that I was looking for was not to get a fridge that just had like thermoelectric cooling, but rather one that actually had a condenser, something that I can possibly repair if I need to down the road, just because it is a bunch of work that a person puts into doing this. And I don't want to just have to toss it if something breaks on me. So anyway, what I like about it is, of course, the glass door. It looks really slick. It's nice to be able to keep an eye on your product while stuff is dry aging or fermenting or curing, whatever, right? Now, as you can see in here, I've just been kind of running some tests on it. So using this ThermoPro hygrometer and thermometer, I've been tracking the relative humidity as well as the temperature over several days here. And you can see that there have been some big swings in the humidity and, you know, like 8-degree Fahrenheit swings, I guess, in the temperature. Now, I did put these two 1-gallon buckets full of water in here as well. There was definitely more water than that in there a week ago when I put them in. I was just curious to see what would happen if I did have some moisture in here. And looking at that, I do think I'm going to need to actually set it up for monitoring and regulating the humidity. On my last one, the way I had it set up was I had two of these USB fans. You can see I kind of just tore it off, the old one, that were set up, and one was an input that was coming in from the top and blowing in, and then I had one down at the bottom that was an output blowing out, and that top one there had just a, as you can see here, some furnace filter just to help prevent stuff from sucking in. And I'm going to do something kind of similar on this one. However, I've got this USB fan here. I kind of traded one of my other ones with a buddy for this one here. And this is like kind of one of those radial blowers, I think it's called. So it would be intaking air from here and then just shooting the air out mainly through the left side here of those two holes. And it's just going to spin and do that. And this way I can cut a much smaller hole in my curing chamber than I did for this one here, because you can see it's significantly larger. And I had cut a hole, and then this was sort of just kind of covering those holes. So with this, because I've done this before and I know that this whole process works, I'm interested not only in function, but also in aesthetics. So that's part of the reason why I'm going for that smaller fan, because it'll mean a smaller hole. I'm also trying to just ensure that I don't have anything too obtrusive or whatever sticking off the sides, taking away from the appearance of this unit. As long as it's also working really well. So now I've got some considerations. I do have to set up my humidity control. So with that, I'm going to be using this Inkbird hydrometer controller, and then also quite possibly this other Inkbird temperature controller. Really, I think what I'll do, as long as I have this set up for humidity, then I'll probably test it out and see how it works. Because it won't really be invasive to have to put the temperature controller in line once this is set up. And I'll, of course, keep tracking the temperature control and stuff once this is actually constructed and in use. So yeah, anyway, I'm going to kind of keep mulling this over, and when we come back, we'll be taking a look at some other stuff here. So I guess one thing to point out too is that at the very top on the back of this fridge, it's got this fan, and this fan is actually sucking air out when it's cooling, and I think it's sending it behind that plate there. And everything's cooling. You can see a little bit of condensation that occurs on there, but it's got down under here a pretty decent drip tray. You can kind of see there where things, it's kind of angling down, and then that drains out. So I'm not sure how much air draw I'm going to be able to get if I have that fan somewhere probably down here near the bottom, just pushing the humid air out, because I know that's going to be my main concern. I also have a humidifier that I am going to place on the bottom here, so that if I don't have a whole lot of stuff in here and it's kind of nearing the end of its drying cycle and I'm needing to add humidity to it, that won't be a problem. Usually the issue is trying to dehumidify, and I don't want to use a dehumidifier for that because I don't want to have to keep opening this door and trying to empty that dehumidifier, and it might not necessarily work too terribly sweet anyway. And I've got that fan, so I guess the first task here is just figuring out how exactly I want to set that up down on this side. So looking at the wiring diagram, there is over in here, I guess over here in the back corner, you can kind of see it back here. There's a grate, and it says that there's I think the temperature probe or something is down there, and it's trying to set up that way. I think that would make sense because I have it set at 45, but higher up here it's registering at 51. So the cooler air, of course, would be down below. Anyway, I'm gonna try and figure out how I want to get that fan installed. Fortunately, there should be no wiring or anything on the left side of this fridge, since the condenser here is in the bottom. The coils and everything are on the outside of the fridge along the back, and then if it's got that that controller over there, sensor, I shouldn't run into any issues on this side. Fingers crossed on that. And that includes having looked at a schematic of this, like a blowout parts schematic, and it doesn't seem like there should be anything on the left wall here. So that's what I'm going to be banking on here. All right, so in order to mount this fan down here for location, I basically am having it so that the top part of this fan is going to be 2 inches off of the bottom of this floor here, and then the corner of it is going to be 6 inches in, and that'll position it kind of near the back of the bottom of this piece, because it is already pushed out this way because of the compressor. And it'll be raised up just a little bit off of the floor here. So hopefully it'll be able to maximize just drawing the humid air down and out. So what I did then is I got those measurements and then sort of matched it here on the outside. And I believe the best way to go through this is going to be using my jigsaw with a metal blade. I think it'll just probably make for the smoothest cuts, hopefully. In order to do that, though, I'm just going to use my drill with a metal bit to drill a hole somewhere kind of probably right around here, something large enough for that jigsaw blade to pass through, and then I can start to go ahead and cut this. So I'm going to need both hands for that, so we'll take a look once that's done. All right, so I cut the hole here. I just started out with a smaller, like an 1/8 inch drill bit, and then went to a larger one, just because that got it nicely started. It was actually pretty easy to cut through that. So as you can see now, I'm going to be able to take my jigsaw and that blade fit in there, and I'm just going to make a cut kind of swooping up here towards this line. I'll go to the end, and then I will do the same thing here on the bottom. I'll kind of swoop down, angle down, do that, and then I'll just kind of make some cuts, and it'll take several cuts here to do it, but I think it'll be the easiest way in order to actually ensure that I get that rectangle cut relatively cleanly. So fingers crossed. Okay, so I did that first little cut here. Now I'm going to do this other one and go along the bottom. Okay, yeah, cool. As you can see, there's nothing in there except for foam. Woo! All right. Now I'm going to just do a couple cuts this way, and then this is kind of where it gets finicky. But I'll kind of wind up swooping down here and then swooping up there and cleaning that all up. So when we come back, with any luck, I'll have a nice hole. Well, it's looking a little dirty right now. However, you can see that the hole worked. I'm just going to take a metal file here and kind of file the outside, and maybe kind of shave a little bit here too on this plastic on the inside, just to make sure that it's the right shape. Okay, so for now what I did is I just took some Gorilla Tape, actually, because it's black, it basically matches, and I sealed up everything in there. I might actually take a little bit of black marker and just kind of paint it, particularly on the outside, not so much on the inside, but just so you don't really notice it. Now I'm going to sort out how to mount that fan over top of that hole. So I'm going to use a couple of these little corner brackets to mount the fan like this up against that wall. So I'm just pre-drilling, as you can see, I'm just pre-drilling. I'm just going to do the two, this one here, and then obviously also this one over here, I think, and I'll just have those two screws in, and I'll do one on each side, and then probably 2 screws to the wall of the fridge, and hopefully that will hold. Okay, so I got all those mounted on there. You can see the fan still spinning freely. So now I just have to get it all nicely lined up in there. I will again just pre-drill some holes and get that mounted. All right, so it is mounted, and I've got the power cord coming out here. I actually took that extra little, it's kind of hard to see from here, that extra hookup so that you could plug multiple fans into the same cable, and I just tucked it over here and taped it on so that it's out of the way, because I didn't have quite enough room once it was out here to get it tucked out of the way, and it was kind of blocking this a little bit. But now I can just switch on this fan. That spins, and there's actually a decent amount of air. It's pushing through quite nicely. So I think this will probably be left on high. I like being able to adjust this, but I'll leave it on high for now, and we'll see how effective that is at removing humidity once that's going on in here. Well, with that dehumidification fan set up, and I'm hoping that will be enough. If for some reason it seems like it's not actually getting rid of the humidity quickly enough, I can always wind up putting like an input fan somewhere, maybe up here, up in the top, that'll cycle air in, and then it'll do a complete and perhaps more efficient recirculation. Well, I mean a changeover of air. Now, the next consideration here is how to get power in here. So I've got 2 of these heat wraps that I'm going to use for fermenting when I'm doing salamis. And I think what I'm probably going to wind up doing is just being able to like slide them in like this, and they'll hang right near the back. And when I'm going ahead with this, the refrigerator won't be cooling anyway, because I'll have it rocking at like 90 Fahrenheit or whatever. So I'll have 2 of those in the back that'll be heating things up, and they'll be out of the way and not touching the salami. So I've got those power cords. I'll also have the power cord for the humidifier, and the humidifier is just going to sit down there on that bottom part. And I need to be able to get that out, and also get the RH probe in for the humidity controller, as well as possibly the probe for the temperature controller. So I'm going to do that all through a single port. And what I'm going to do is I bought this here. This is for, this is like a plastic conduit box, and it's got a lid just like this. But I'm going to wind up mounting it on the outside. I'm going to have a hole drilled, and so it'll go like that. This is wide enough that my power cords, the outlet ends, can go through. And on the inside, I'm going to use this. The ID of this is just slightly larger than the OD of that other piece of plastic, but I think I'll just take some silver ducting tape and wrap that over top of the exterior of this one here, just to beef it up a little bit, and then it'll be able to push in snugly. And with this one here that's going to go on the inside, even though these are designed to be mounted like so, I'm going to mount it backwards. That way I can screw it into the wall. And with that other one fitting in snugly, I shouldn't even actually need to screw that that PVC box to the outside. It should actually hopefully just hold with this. Now, I believe where I'm going to put it is back in here, because I've got this nice space here where it's a little bit flat, a little bit thinner of a wall than here. All these other spots here, it's all significantly thicker, and with this here, it would possibly mess up me wanting to switch around the shelving. So if I'm going to have it somewhere near the back here, I'm going to use a hole saw, and I've got my hole saw here somewhere. Just can't find it at the moment, but it's, oh, I attached it to my drill. Right, just like that. And that is basically the same diameter as this here. So I'm just going to sort that out, and I'll probably actually drill, yeah, I just have to decide if I'm going to start on the outside, going through that metal, and then work my way in, or go vice versa, just because then I'm not reliant upon measurements and stuff like that on the outside. Well, I'll figure it out here in just a minute, and then I will get that cut. Very easier than what I did there for that port, because it's just a single hole saw. It'll just rip right through, and then I can use that Gorilla Tape and tape it up and just kind of seal up that insulation, so we're not worried about any kind of moisture getting in there. So let's do that now. All right, so this is what I decided. I basically lined up this port piece here, figured out where the center of that hole would be. I used the hole saw just to drill that initial hole. Now I'm going to use a metal bit, and I'm going to drill, just basically go right through that hole, straight to the outside, and then I'll use the hole saw from the outside coming in, just because I think that'll cut a lot easier if I start through that metal exterior and then come through into the plastic. So that's the plan. Well, there we go, the hole on the outside. So now a little hole saw action and just drilling through into the interior again. Well, this is the part where I fess up and admit to the fact that I started this and then realized that was not a bimetal hole saw I was using. It was one for wood. So I quickly gave up on the hole saw and just used the jigsaw again for this, because I had that hole drilled through. As you can see, oh, there's a little bit of foam there, so it has to pop out. It did work. Went a little, very slightly awry here, but none of that's going to matter, because I am going to be covering it up with the port. So anyway, that should work out just fine. Well, one other little touch-up that I did here was to take this black plastic electrical faceplate, and I just needed to cut it a little bit longer, about almost 1/4 inch on either side, in order to accommodate this this port here, just a vent. So all that's doing is just then from up here, it kind of cleans it up a little bit better, finishes it off nicely. Okay, so this port in here is actually tight enough, because of the tape that I've got in there sealing it up. It's tight enough I don't actually even need to screw it in, because it is in there super hard. It's very difficult even to move. And from the outside here now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this little conduit box here, and I've just taken a piece of rubber or vinyl stripping, and I've cut it and kind of made a little bit of a gasket. And that's just because I made this hole a little bit large. It was big enough to accommodate a second one of those. However, of course, I changed my mind. If I had gone in with the hole saw from the inside and not penetrated through the metal here, and then just cut a smaller hole that would have fit this, I wouldn't need this gasket here, but that's actually to partially cover up that wider hole, as you can see. Yeah, size-wise, right? So anyway, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pre-drill a hole, get probably even just one. I'll try it first. Really big, like a number 10 screw, just a shorter number 10 screw through there, which should secure it really quite nicely. And as long as that holds, then I'm just going to Gorilla Glue around the perimeter of this, just so that it hugs up nice and tightly. Okay, so let's give that a whirl. So of course common sense prevailed, and I went with 2 screws there just so that it's on there securely and can't pivot. I applied Gorilla Glue around the perimeter of that vinyl strip and slapped it on there, got it all screwed on, and I'm just going to leave the tape on there for a little bit, just to make sure that that is hopefully nice and snug along there and just looking good. Yeah, coming along. Well, as you can see here, I kind of have it all set up for now. I just plugged the fridge back on. It's or plugged it back in, I should say. It's sitting at 62 Fahrenheit right now, but I've got it chilling down to the setting on it is 52. And I've got my temperature probe and my humidity probe right there. This obviously isn't exactly what they're going to look like once this is up and running. This is just kind of temporary. I've also put in my heat wraps there, just so I can see kind of what they would be like. Again, that they would only actually physically be in here when I'm fermenting salamis or something like that, and I need to be at a warmer temperature than this fridge will create, which I guess is warmer than ambient. I've got the controllers just sitting up here for now. You can see the humidity controller here isn't quite happy yet. I'm sure that as this fridge gets cold and goes through its normal cycle, that RH will climb back up there and it'll be within a range where it's happy. And I've got the temperature controller plugged in. The fridge is just plugged into the outlet right now. It's not plugged into this controller. This is just a way for me to double check the temperature for now. And I will pop my other thermometer in here too, and the RH meter, just so I can have lots of opinions. I don't have my I don't have the humidifier in here yet. That is the plan, and actually I'll probably need to remove this shelf when I do stick it in here. I think it's just a little bit taller than that, but I just have that cleaning out right now so that it'll be ready to plug in, and then I'll see if I can dial in a really tight humidity in here. So yeah, that's kind of it for now, and I'll do a little bit of testing and see what I need to do from there. Okay, so I've got my humidifier in there as well now, and I've got it kind of aiming away so it's not gonna fall right back down on top of that fan. And I've got stuff to monitor my RH, and actually I'm just gonna slide this over this way just a little bit, considering that everything right there is going to be a little bit more moist, actually maybe even right over here, so that it's not getting direct mist on it. My RH probe for my humidity monitor is right there. Temperature probe for the Inkbird temperature controller is right there. Even though I've just got the fridge plugged in, I don't have the fridge hooked up to the temperature controller yet. That's simply so I can track any differences. I'll very likely wind up plugging this into the temperature controller, but for now I'm not. And I do have the fan, both the fan and the humidifier, set up to the Inkbird here so that we can monitor the RH and actually hopefully regulate it. So we're hitting 75. Okay, so that obviously turned off the humidifier. That green light is no longer on. It's no longer emitting any kind of steam. Of course, this is still going to climb as that humidity is absorbed. And when I believe I've got a 2% swing differential. Well, it's not going to climb any higher than that. Well, maybe. Right on. Okay, so maybe that fan won't really actually have to kick on. We'll see here. If we can climb another little bit, then that should kick on as well. Well, we're not. Okay, so that's nice to know. So it overshot by about 1.5%. That might change slightly once there's actual meat and stuff going on in here. So that was reading 76.5. That is reading 72%, a little bit lower. Okay. Oh, this is actually probably going to hit 77. At which point that fan should kick on. Well, maybe I have it at a 3%. No, I'm just going to change that for now. This controller. Just so we... Oh, high is 2. Down to 3. You know, so let's move that to 2 as well. Okay. Yeah, so now that light's on, so that means it's kicked on. And you can probably hear that. So let's see how quickly that drops. If at all. Oh, hey, look at that. Nice. So that is dropping it reasonably quickly here. Sick. Okay, so for the next little bit here, I'm just going to be monitoring this, kind of seeing how much things kick on and whatnot, because it would be nice if I can just kind of get it, you know, dialed in really nice and tightly. Oh, see, and then it kicked off. So how much will it drop now? So now I've got it set up for 2% on either end. So theoretically, when that hits 73, well, it will. When it hits 73, that humidifier will turn back on. Okay, that's really not too bad. So I mean, on either end, it's kind of like a 1.5%, like reasonably quick swing. Maybe it'll hit 2% here right away, and that thing will kick back on. Oh, here we go. Yeah, and of course, humidifier's back on. So anyway, I'm sure this will balance out just a little bit better, but perfect. Okay, so now based on that, I need to start thinking about my panel for this, because what I would like would be ideally some sort of a flush mount panel for both of these set up here, and I'd also kind of like to be able to block off the cords as they go to the back, which will happen with the flush mount. So I got to design that and have something that I can mount to the roof here. I'm also contemplating painting the electrical conduit on the inside, as well as that port. Well, you can't see it right now. The intake for this. So I'll get some more of that done, and we'll check up on that afterwards. All right, so I want to get these painted up. So the first step is just giving them a really light sand. I've got some 320 grit sandpaper here. I'm just going to give them a really light scrubbing with that, and that should help prep the surface. And then following that, I've got a little bit of acetone, and I'm just going to wipe them down with that. And once that has evaporated, which will not take too long, these should be ready to paint. Okay, so I've gone ahead with these, and I cleaned them off. I just had a little bit of acetone here and put that on a paper towel, gave them a little rub down. That stuff basically evaporates immediately. So I'm going to be painting this. What I wound up going with is this Rust-Oleum, this 2X Ultra Cover Paint and Primer, which allegedly should work with plastic. And the guy at the hardware store said that he thought it would work. So we're going to give it a whirl. I'm just going to go ahead and give this like really light coats, because I don't want to risk having any kind of dripping or anything like that. So we'll see if I can record and paint at the same time. Just a little tester here. There we go. Okay, so light, little coat. I'm sort of planning on having to do multiple coats here. And that's okay with me. Now with this piece here, this part is actually inside the curing chamber. So obviously I'm not super concerned about getting that part painted up. Yeah, I don't want to go any thicker than that, or it might pool and run a little bit. Sweet. And now just this last part, and it's really just these short edges and the top part here that's going to be exposed. So do that, give it a little paint, and so now I'm just going to wait half an hour, and then I'll come back and give these just another coat and see how they look then. Okay, I'm not going to lie, I might have gone a little bit far. I got the conduit pieces put on there, and everything was black except for the humidifier. I didn't want to actually spray paint the humidifier itself, but that cord that was running up the back, I was just not happy with that. So yeah, I went ahead and spray painted that with the same paint. After I did it, I put like 4 coats on, then I started to get paranoid. I was like, oh, is this going to bend or is it going to crack or whatever? But it seems to be flexible, no problem. So yeah, happy about that. So now it's time to get everything put back in and wired. Well, it is panel time. So what I did is I took this, I think it's 1/2 inch MDF, and I essentially traced out where the controllers will go. I want to have these like relatively flush mount. The way that it's going to wind up is that they'll be slightly inset in here. You'll see when I actually get them mounted in, but that'll kind of nicely protect them and whatnot. So this is going to be the front side with them sticking through. And I just cut everything here actually with my jigsaw. I was too lazy to whip out the table saw even to make some of these side cuts. So I just really carefully did it with the jigsaw. You can tell it's not like 100% smooth, but my plan once I've got these in here is I might even run like a little bead of silicone around here, and that's on the inside, and I think that's going to hide any sort of imperfections. So then on the back side here, the way that I'm going to mount the actual controllers is when you take a look at them, there's a gap coming back from the front of the display to the little screw hole where you could like mount it to a wall. That is actually going to wind up pressing up against this here and screwing into it like that. And I'm also going to secure this with a couple of screws to the MDF there. Once I've got that secured, I'm also then going to take, I've got two of these other pieces of MDF that was just like the remainder of that scrap board. They're both going to wind up going on here, and so then it'll stand up like so, and that will help brace it. And then really all I need to do is figure out how I'm going to secure it to the roof of the curing chamber, because I don't want to screw down into it because I'm not sure if there's any sort of wiring or anything going through there. I'm actually quite confident that there is, and I don't want to screw that up. So I'm kind of playing around with ideas, possibly some double-sided tape or some kind of removable glue or something. I don't know. But that is a bridge to cross when we get there. For now, I'm simply going to assemble this. And then those sides will go on just using some brackets here, and once that's all together, then I can paint it up so that it will look like it matches everything else. So just use that same spray paint that I used on the conduit pieces. So yeah, let's see what it looks like when that's done. Okay, so main construction complete. So I got those sides on. Like I said, this is going to be the piece that we're going to be screwing into to kind of help hold those in place. Yeah. I've got this brace here in the back so that the sides can't push in towards each other, and this will also probably be something that I could put something underneath to hopefully help it attach to the fridge. So anyway, at this point I think I'm good to go ahead and paint it up. Well, here's my first look at an initial sort of draft here, what this will be like. Okay, so you can see that it's sitting on the roof here. And right now you can still see there's like a little bit of a gap and stuff here. I'm seriously contemplating trying to throw in a little silicone. I do have some black silicone, which I think would look really sharp. It's just going to take some really careful siliconing to make sure that it doesn't kind of muck up too much in and along here. But I'm going to play around with that. And then I've also got some brackets that I'm going to use in the back here. You can see that I did have a bit of an incident where this controller fell off behind the fridge and it broke off this thing here, but I think I'll be able to still just get around that with the screws that I'm going to place in here. So anyway, I'll play with this stuff and we'll see what it looks like when that's done. And here we are, all done. So as you can see with my panel box here, I went ahead and got these siliconed on here just to seal it up so you couldn't see anything from the front side, any of those cracks. And then I just screwed these in here from the top, and then just installed a couple little brackets here just to kind of hold them in place, and they are really quite sturdy now. I'm also just storing my heat wraps back here so that they're out of the way. Everything else is all just kind of nicely plugged in and then strung down the back of the curing chamber. Yeah, I don't know. I'm super happy with this. It looks really, really quite clean and aesthetically pleasing. I might wind up, I don't know, adding some kind of decoration or something up here. We'll see. But for now, as you can tell, it's keeping a really nice tight range here for both the humidity as well as the temperature. And yeah, now all I need to do is get my S-hooks, get a whole bunch of meat, and start to play. So yeah, if you like this, subscribe, check out more videos, because I plan on getting some meat in here right away. So till next time, keep her at 11.